with Artemis right now. This is Past the Mic Brno. We're really, really glad to have you here, like I said before. But Artemis, he's the co-founder along with your partner, Ali, for ALO. Can you tell us a little bit more about ALO?
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for your very kind invitation. It's an honor for me to be here. Maybe I should start why we established ALO and what we are doing in ALO. In 2021, at that time, I remember I was working in a radio station, but not like you guys because you're so professional. In the radio, we were producing programs for Afghan and Iranian LGBTIQ people, radio programs, and we were doing raising awareness about the situation of LGBTIQ people. We had many educational programs in the radio, and the radio was established in 2011, and I started my work at I think in 2020, early 2020. But when in August 2021, when the government of Afghanistan collapsed because of the Taliban arrival in Afghanistan, they took control of the power in Afghanistan. We received a lot of messages for help from many LGBTIQ people, many desperate LGBTIQ people in Afghanistan. They were asking for protection and support. And I remember there were many cases of LGBTIQ people who were persecuted and targeted by the Taliban. There was a case of a gay man who reached out to us, and he was lashed to death just because he was stopped at one of the Taliban's checkpoint, and they because when the government collapsed, militarization increased, securitization increased in that area, and the same thing happened in Afghanistan. So there were many security checkpoints, and he was stopped there, and they checked his cell phone, and they found some LGBT pictures and kissing of two men, and because of that, that was enough to take him to the police station and lash him. And we received many messages like this. And then the humanitarian aspect was catastrophic because many people didn't have food to eat. Many people were internally displaced. So in the radio, we received many requests for help. But as a radio producer and presenter, we couldn't do many things. So that's why we decided to do something. So we launched a fundraising campaign. Actually, it went very well. Many people around the world, but I want to emphasize many people from Italy, from Spain, France, and many people from Brazil donated a huge amount of money to our organization, so to our campaign. So we managed to help many people. After that, we decided to establish this organization. I came to Brno, Czech Republic, and in 2021, me and my partner and with two of my wonderful colleagues, and they are Czech, we established ALO. And in ALO, our primary focus is to provide protection to LGBTIQ people at risks. We provide basic necessities like food, shelter, medicines, and sometimes relocation to safe third countries. Because sometimes if the Taliban targets a human rights defender or a LGBTQ activist, that person is at immediate risks and can be executed. So we provide relocation, and the second pillar of our work is international advocacy. We do our best to hold the Taliban accountable in ALO, because many LGBTIQ people, many women and girls in Afghanistan who face persecution by the Taliban, they didn't do anything. They didn't commit any crimes. And because of that, we believe that there should be justice and accountability. And we engage with the United Nations, with the International Criminal Court, to hold the Taliban accountable for all the human rights violations that they committed in Afghanistan.
Yeah. I mean,
how do you manage to establish the protection if it's in Afghanistan or in Iran, where the government or the Taliban is persecuting these people? So I can imagine that you cannot really have a point there where people could come and reach you through some workers in there. So how do you manage to get them protected?
It's great questions, but I cannot go into details because of security issues. We don't want to put our colleagues inside the country at risks, but we have an underground network inside the country, and also we have some international organizations that they are still working inside the country, and some local partners, and through local partners we distribute aid and food inside the country, especially to LBQ women. We are in Pride Month, so I want to also emphasize that while we are are here in Brno and while we are here in Europe and we are celebrating Pride, many LGBTIQ people, particularly LBQ women in countries like Afghanistan, they face persecution. And we have and for LBQ women the situation is very complicated, so we use the help of our local partners, underground networks, so they can deliver the aids and foods. But most of the requests that we receive in our organizations is mostly through social media, internet, websites, emails that we receive, and then we process the requests, and then through our local partners inside the country, we do our best to distribute foods, aids, or sometimes relocation. Relocation is very complicated, but we do our best to provide it as well. So it's a collaboration of different groups and networks and partners.
Yeah, that's amazing. But why did you choose to settle down here in the Czech Republic then? Because obviously we know the Czech Republic isn't the most accepting that it could be in the European Union, but is there a reason particularly? I was refugee in Turkey for 4 years, and from 2017 until October 2021. And in October 2021, I came to the Czech Republic. In Turkey, I started my activism with my partner. We were providing support to LGBTIQ refugees as asylum seekers in Turkey. And I did a lot of interviews about the situation of LGBTIQ asylum seekers, but unfortunately, Turkey was not a safe country for an LGBTQ activist, and I faced persecution in Turkey. So that's why I came to the Czech Republic. I think because Czech Republic, I know many people don't know about it, but the Czech Republic was the fastest option that we can come. And when we came here, Czech Republic immediately granted us a permanent residency, which is great because many people are struggling for having such a status. But the Czech government was very generous with me, and that's why I came here. And I think I'm very happy. Yeah. Your organization though still relies mostly on like grassroots, and you don't get direct funding from like the Czech government. Do you find that the community in the Czech Republic is very open and supportive of the organization?
I think the Czech community and Czech society, they are very open. They donated a lot of money to our organization in the past 4 years and a half, and I'm so grateful for that. But when it comes to the funding from the state or from the city, I think it's very complicated to get funding from the states. Specifically when our work is not just on Afghanistan, we also work in the Czech Republic. We provide support to LGBTQ refugees and asylum seekers from the post-Soviet Union countries, from Ukraine, from Russia. We do training for the Czech authorities. We had queer dance therapy for 1 year in the Czech Republic. And we did it mostly on a volunteer basis and partially funded by the international organizations and other member states, but not by the Czech Republic. So I think what I want to say is that Czech society were very generous, but when it comes to the Czech government, I think they were not open to provide supports, flexible supports, not only to our organizations, but to many civil society organizations who are doing grassroots works.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have a big problem with the grants and the money flowing to NGOs. Also now with the new government that has been in charge, it's getting worse and worse, and they're cutting all the money flowing to NGOs. So I think it's a very unstable time for all NGOs.
We see it everywhere. I mean, especially like America, the Trump administration and those cuts. It's like it's everywhere now.
Yes, it's everywhere, and maybe I should mention about the Trump government, how it impacted our organizations. We were supported hundreds of LGBTIQ people and women and girls inside the country, and we were relying on mostly from US funding, because at that time, when we established our organization in 2021, so one of the best way and fastest way to get resources were through foundations or fundings through the US government, because it was flexible. It was a large amount of fundings, and we could support many people. But in January 2025 last year, we were expecting for fundings again. We were expecting to extend our funding agreements. But I think it was 28th of January, when the Trump signed that executive order, we lost a huge amount of fundings, and then we had to stop most of our humanitarian work. And unfortunately, after that, we couldn't provide support to many people inside the country. Now we are still providing support, but in a very, very lower scale. Because imagine that we were supporting hundreds of people for 4 years, and suddenly we had to reduce our capacity, we had to reduce our supports, and unfortunately, it was very sudden, and people were not happy with us. This is the reality of our work, that, for example, people were sending pictures, videos that they didn't have food to eat. There were people who were eating onions, and especially there were single women in Afghanistan that they were relying on us, because imagine that right now women and girls in Afghanistan, they cannot go to work, they cannot study, because it is forbidden for women to study, it is forbidden for women to work, it is even forbidden for women and girls to go outside of their house without a male guardian. They need a family male guardian to go outside. So imagine a single woman who doesn't have family supports, who lost her husband because of war or conflict in Afghanistan, and that woman has some children, and she cannot survive in that environment. She needs support, she needs help. And unfortunately, after January 2025, we had to cut off our supports to many people inside the country, and this is catastrophic, because many people they are in a very difficult situation. Some people attempted to commit suicide. Sorry, I know it's very triggering, but I have to mention, because this is the reality of our work.
Is there, though, any community inside Iran and Afghanistan that offers the support? I know you do it through the organization, but also maybe LGBTIQ community or a women support community, something that the people there can rely on, that's not like kind of outsourcing the help from foreign countries?
So yes, there are some underground networks inside the country, especially there are many feminist and women movements inside the country that they operate, I think, very, very powerfully, and they're amazing people that they are working inside the country. But for LGBTI people, it's very complicated, because they are the most persecuted group inside the country. And really, we don't have really that many supports inside the country for LGBTI people. Imagine that every single week we have public floggings of LGBTI people in Afghanistan, and the Taliban announced it proudly on the website of the Taliban Supreme Court, that we publicly flogged this person on charge of homosexuality, on charge of same-sex relationships. And they are abandoned even by the society, by even, unfortunately, some so-called human rights groups, or so-called human rights defenders. So we don't have, specifically for LGBTI people, we don't have such groups inside the country, and they are really relying on us. And also, and this work is very dangerous, because being a queer means that you can face execution inside the country. In January, they published a new so-called criminal procedure code that introduced death penalty for same-sex relationship. And anyone who promotes this, or anyone who works around this, is very dangerous. So I think this is a very risky work. And some people decide not to take these risks, and I really understand them. But still, we have feminist movements inside the country, women groups inside the country. They are providing supports for women and girls, sometimes to LGBTI people and LBQ women. But I should emphasize again that this is very dangerous. That's why international organizations like the UN or other international humanitarian organizations, they have to do something, because they have some semi-protection from the Taliban, and they have more flexibility inside the country to do this work.
Would you say women in general, they're very supportive towards the LGBT plus community?
I think I've always said it, and I really believe that women movements inside the country and LGBTIQ movements inside the country, they are fighting very closely with each other. They are fighting against patriarchy. They are fighting against the Taliban systems, the gender apartheid system inside the country. And also right now, most of our partners are feminist movements, Afghan feminist movements, Afghan women and girls, Afghan human rights defenders, women human rights defenders. Yes, they are very supportive of LGBTI people. And these days, we have a lot of campaigns for human rights in Afghanistan. And it is very interesting that we see that many women and girls they advocate for the rights of LGBTIQ people, and it makes me very happy, because 5 years ago, before 2021, it wasn't like this because many people were not talking about LGBTI people. But when women and girls, when many people inside the country saw how the Taliban persecutes LGBTI people, I think now things are getting better when it comes to the perspectives of people, and many women human rights defenders now they are advocating for LGBTI people. I know there might be some turfs, unfortunately, but still, it's much better than I think many contexts in the region right now.
Yeah. Does like social media play a big role in this, like the visibility of?
Yes, social media and media in general in Afghanistan. Before 2020, if you even use the tools on Google and search LGBT Afghan LGBT people in Farsi or Dari or Pashto, you don't see that many articles, just a few articles in Farsi and Dari. But after August 2021, you can see many articles, many reports, many documentaries, many interviews of LGBTI people. And I think this played a very important role for changing the perspectives. I remember when we did our radio work, the name of our radio station was Rainbow Radio or Radio Rangin Kaman in Farsi. And when we did our work and when I started my work, I thought maybe there is no added value of this work. To be honest, at that time, it was my perspective that many people really will not change. But I was wrong, because when I worked there, and I remember I interviewed 200 LGBTIQ people, and as part of my work, I was doing a lot of storytelling. And I remember people did change because of the messages that we were receiving from the country, the emails that we were receiving. People were happy, and many people told us that we didn't know that LGBTIQ people exist, because many people thought maybe it's a Western thing and it doesn't exist inside the country. But many people did change, and so it plays a role. But it's important that it should be more systemic, and this work must be continuous. It shouldn't be just because some social media or some like media or press, they work one report per year about LGBTIQ people just during the Pride months. But I think for countries like Afghanistan, we have to do it continuously to make that change. And I think through the radio we did it, but unfortunately last year funding cuts forced us to close the radio station after more than 12 years.
Do you have plans on reopening it if you ever get the chance to in the future?
So I was only responsible for the Afghanistan department. My main boss is based in London.
Right.
I think he has to make the decision, but the problem is the fundings, because the radio was funded by the UK government and the US government, and both of them stopped funding many NGOs and radio stations and media. So unfortunately, it's very complicated.
How do you face the challenge of like the funding being cut and financial aid being cut for the organization? Are you trying to somehow outsource the money, or?
So this is a very big challenge. Last year we had a very difficult time to just figure out what to do and how to survive, because still I do believe that ALO is very lucky, because many organizations closed their operations. Many organizations totally closed the organizations, and I know especially in Africa or in the West Asia or South Asia, many organizations, they are not exist anymore. They don't exist anymore because of funding cuts. So I do believe that we are lucky, but we decided to change our strategy, to do more crowdfunding, to receive more donations from the people. I know it is not sustainable at all, because sometimes we receive some money, sometimes we don't receive any money from the public, and it's not enough. For example, from the US government, we could receive $100,000 US dollars just in a very small grant. But for example, from the public, it's much less than $100,000 US dollar, like $1,000 per month we sometimes receive, which is not enough compared to the many requests that we receive. But we decided to diversify our resources. For example, reaching out to foundations in Europe, reaching out to some EU member states, getting money from the EU. But I have to also say that getting money from the EU is even I think is one of the hardest thing in the world. It's not really possible. But we are doing our best, and we were successful in some cases. But unfortunately, we are not still we are not working like before January 2025, and we are still in a very vulnerable situation. For example, now ALO, I have to be very honest with you that in our organizations we only have fundings until the end of 2026. If we don't secure our fundings for next year, we have to also close our finish and close our operations for many LGBTI people in Afghanistan.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I'm glad that you could obviously be on here, because I think outreach is so important nowadays. Like, you just need to be able to dominate like the media sphere and be able to get your voice out there as much as possible to get eyes on you. I mean, we even experienced it, I guess, with our event, like on a much smaller scale. And not a lot of people showed up because the media wasn't the best, and like
Yeah, we
nowadays.
didn't manage to cover properly the marketing of the event. So, but still,
I think I'm very happy for World Bridge Initiative, because I still believe that there are many people, because based on my experience in the past 4 years and a half or almost 5 years in the Czech Republic, for events in Afghanistan, less than 5 people show up. So, but this time we had many people actually compared to the events, and I really want to acknowledge it, and I want to say
thank you.
for
That's
that.
But it's funny because
That's good
we
feedback.
had a friend of ours who's from Iran, and she said that she finds that there aren't many Iranians in Brno. And actually, yesterday we went for dinner, lunch. It was like lunch,
yeah.
dinner.
We went to the Iranian restaurant Safran,
Yes,
if you know,
yes.
in Brno,
Yeah.
and it was great. It was a great experience. We talked with the man working there. I forgot his name. Do you remember?
Ahad?
Param.
Oh, okay. There are many people.
He's
Yeah.
only worked there for like 4 months right now,
Oh,
but
okay.
he said something, I don't know if you remember, but when he came to, because we asked him as well about like, oh, how does he find like the Iranian community in Brno, and he said there are like 300 Iranians in Brno.
I
And-
think more than 300.
Oh,
because
really?
Oh,
There's
wow.
a Telegram group that we have more than 400 people.
Okay.
Oh wow! Because we
Yes.
got bad information from our friend who said,
So there are different Telegram
Yeah.
groups,
Okay.
and so if your friend, for example, came recently, maybe they don't know about these
Maybe.
groups, because sometimes it's very difficult to enter these Telegram groups, because you have to know someone
yeah,
who adds you in the Telegram. So that's why also when I came to the Czech Republic for the first year, I thought there is no Iranian here.
Yeah.
But then I noticed that no, there are some Iranians, and also they have some Telegram groups. So
Yeah.
it depends.
He said something funny. He was like, oh, you guys, we're all living in the New York of the Czech Republic, because it's apparently so multicultural. But I think it's important for people to know, like, Brno is a huge international hub. And I think, recently, like, we see it more with, like, more English events and more multicultural events happening. But, yeah.
yeah. There's
A
also
lot
so
of
many
Iranians.
international communities.
Yeah.
But you lived here, right? You studied at Masaryk University. How do you find the Iranian or Persian community? Is there like some support, events, meetings, or how does it work?
So I do believe that there are at least 400 Iranians and also many Afghans in Brno, but still I do believe that it's nothing compared to the Iranian or Afghan community in Vienna or
Right.
in Germany, because we
Yeah.
have a huge community in those countries and in those cities. But I think there are many successful Iranians and Afghans in Brno that many people don't know about them. We have artists, we have writers, we have many amazing people. Also in Prague, not just in Brno. In Prague, we have many Afghan and Iranian journalists that they are famous. They are amazing people, but they are living in the Czech Republic. Also in Brno, I know many people and they support our work, and I'm so happy because they organize some events in Brno. For example, our New Year starts at the beginning of spring. We call it Nowruz, and we celebrate Nowruz every year in Brno with many Iranians, and also actually in Masaryk University we have
Really?
amazing professor. I think I'm not allowed to mention his name, but he was my professor, and he's Czech, and he's Slovak, sorry, and he speaks Farsi better than me, and he celebrates Nowruz, and I was very impressed by his teaching, by his method of interacting with the students, and I was very happy that there is a Slovak professor in Masaryk universities. He speaks Farsi better than me, and he celebrates Nowruz. And sometimes he, after I graduated, we are steps. He shares some events with us, and I'm so happy that. And also, he's very connected more than me with the Iranian community in Brno, and it really shows that the Brno is the hub because we have people from all around the world in Brno, and it makes me very happy. Not just Iranian, we have many Afghans in Brno, but most of them came during the Soviet era to the Czech Republic, but still there are many successful people also in Brno. Many of them have businesses. Like if you go to Luzhanki, you can see many Afghans. Maybe you don't notice it, I will notice it. There are many Afghans, and also there are many businesses, small shops in Brno, but many people don't know that they are owned by Afghans in Brno. And also Czech Republic, when Afghanistan collapsed in 2021, Czech Republic brought many human rights defenders to the Czech Republic. So the Afghan community also is growing in the Czech Republic, which is great, I think.
You mentioned the shops by Luzhanki. Could you maybe mention a name or what is your favorite shop?
There are just I don't know how we should say it in Czech Republic. Obchodny, yes,
yeah.
These small shops.
Yeah.
So I really don't know the name. Just I know there are small shops.
No.
But one of them is in Bratslav Street, and also around Luzhanki. Also there are some shops, and also in Hlavne Nadraji. I think there is an Afghan also working there, but I heard the shop is owned by an Afghan, but the staffs are not. They are Czech. So there are places in Brno. Also in Prague. If you go to Prague, we have a very interesting Afghan restaurant that has been there for 40 years, I think. It's Kabul restaurant. So there are many Afghans, but I think we have to discover them.
Yeah.
Or maybe they are too shy to show themselves.
Because you have to discover them here. It's like
Yeah.
a little like treasure hunt to find. But actually, speaking of Saffron, though, they will be moving to a bigger location, which I was really happy to hear. They've only been open for like 4 years, and
They're expanding
they're
already.
expanding. So
And the
which is
food
nice.
was delicious.
It was really good.
That's
Very
amazing.
good.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. Also, I hope we could find. I hope some Iranians start some shops in Brno because we don't have many stuffs from Iran or Afghanistan in Brno. We have a very small shop in the city center, halal market or halal shop. Sometimes they bring some Iranian stuffs, but I think it's not enough. We have to have an Iranian or Afghan shop also in Brno.
Well, if anyone knows of any good little spots that are Iranian or Afghan owned, please let us know.
Let us know where we're going to go on a
Yeah.
Iranian shop hunt.
Yes. Make a little map.
Yes.
Also, you have done a lot of your work is focused on advocacy for LGBTIQ equality or spreading the knowledge. Do you think the view in Czech Republic, mainly in the society, changed also with your work or in the European Union?
So it's a very complicated question. So I really don't have an answer for that because in Europe, what we see is we are going back. Unfortunately, this is the reality that because of the rise of far rights in many European countries. Even in the Czech Republic, unfortunately, we are going back, and nowadays we see a lot of attacks on LGBT rights, trans rights. Even in the Czech Republic, there was a protest recently in Brno because of a very controversial bill against trans people. So unfortunately, I feel that we are facing backlash, and I think we are in a very complicated time right now in many European countries. My work was really not focused on in the European context, advocacy for them, but it focused on LGBTIQ refugees and asylum seekers. But still, I believe that things got even more complicated. In 12th of June, for example, June 12th, the EU Migration and Asylum Pact came into force in the EU, and it will further violate the rights of many asylum seekers and refugees in the EU, particularly LGBTIQ refugees and asylum seekers. They can get deported back to their countries, or they can sent to third countries outside of the EU, like some African countries, that they are not safe for LGBTIQ people. Unfortunately, things are getting worse and worse. Unfortunately, and I think. But whenever there is a crisis, I think there is also an opportunity. I think now LGBTIQ movements, they are mobilizing to fight with this backlash and to make the things better. And I think we have to work harder from now on.
Do you think there's something else that could be done just from the community?
So I'm an expert on the international level. Maybe I should focus on that because I do believe that member states, they are responsible for protecting human rights at the national level. They are responsible for protecting every single person, regardless of their sexual orientation or gender identity or race or ethnicity or any religions. And so member states have responsibility. They have obligations to the international law. And I think one part of our work in ALO and also with our partners is to hold the member states accountable. Mm-hmm. And I think at this moment, I think apart from raising awareness at the national level, at the community level, I appreciate their works, and I think we have to keep doing that. But also at the international level, we have to hold the member states accountable through international organizations, particularly the UN. There are a lot of spaces, especially at the UN, to just name and shame your country for violating LGBT rights, or using the international mechanism to put pressure, or using diplomatic pressure on your country to make changes. Mm-hmm. And I think there are many interesting international mechanisms that we can use to fight against these backlash, to fight with the far-right governments that they are violating human rights. But I think it's very important that also we should focus in that area as well, because it is a very I noticed that at the international level, we don't have many organizations who work in that in that area, and we don't have many organizations who tries to use international mechanisms to hold their governments accountable and fight with them at the international level. Even for the Czech context, I saw that for the CEDA committee at the UN, there were some reporting, but I think we could do more in the Czech Republic through international mechanisms to hold our governments accountable. So this is my area of expertise. So sorry if I changed the topic.
No, don't worry. But do you think the maybe national governments could be more involved? Because usually it's the NGOs doing the work that the state fails to do or support the communities. Do you think there's a chance or a way of national government supporting the human rights of also the oppressed groups?
Yes, actually, there are many governments actually they are supporting human rights and they are supporting groups. For example, Norway this year they decided funded many human rights organizations, which is great, I think. And also, when you go to the UN spaces, they are not just NGOs. Sometimes member states fight for your rights in the Czech Republic. For example, they deliver statements and supports, for example, people with disability in the Czech Republic or refugees. For example, I was in Geneva recently and I came back from Geneva. And in Geneva, for example, there was a session on right to education. There were member states who were fighting for the right to education of women and girls inside the country. Or there was a session on LGBTQ women and girls, and there was a report by the UN independent experts. And there were many member states, they were fighting for the rights of LGBTQ women in the UN. I know some member states, they said that it's an unethical issues. We had some backlash, but still there are many member states, they are fighting for our rights in our countries, but we are not aware of that. And I think we have to be more informed about these international spaces, and we have to also keep encouraging these member states to keep doing this. And unfortunately, many civil society organizations, they are not active in those spaces. And I know what is the reason. The reason is that these spaces are so expensive to be in there because you need to have resources, fundings to travel in those spaces. This is one of the reasons. And also many people don't have enough expertise in that about these spaces. But there are member states, they are supporting. Even there are member states from Latin American countries, they are advocating for human rights in Europe or in West Asia or South Asia. And I think we have to raise awareness about it, and we have to collaborate with them.
Mm-hmm. I also wanted to ask because your journey was, we listened to a podcast you did, I I'm not sure when, but a few years ago. Your story is very impressive and very hard, or it's very intense, as like all the other stories of LGBTIQ refugees. Do you have a message for young people, or to maybe your young self, to because you overcome so many obstacles and now you co-founded the organization that helps others? Would you say something to your younger self or to young LGBTIQ people facing maybe some oppression or hard times?
When I was young, I remember I was in a very difficult situation, and I remember I didn't have hope for the future. I thought, and I thought that no one will help me, or things will not get better. But my message to many young people, particularly young people from marginalized groups like LGBTI people or people with racial backgrounds, or and many people in the global south, is that do not lose your hope. Hope is the only thing that we have in our region, in our situation, and we have to keep our hope, and we have to just fight and continue. This is the way we can change the world. Things got better for me, but not because the circumstances changed. Unfortunately, we have oppression in many countries. I went through a lot of things, unfortunately, but what changed my life is because I was hopeful, and I met many amazing people that they were hopeful as well. They supported me, and I worked with them. I'm sure that if you keep being hopeful, I'm sure you will find some amazing people who can support you, and they will show the way to you. Because when I was young, I remember I thought I'm lost. I don't have anyone to support me. I don't have any networks. But then eventually things changed. I met the right people, and those people also helped me. And now we are still keep working with each other. So just be hopeful. I know hope is a very difficult world for many people in countries like Afghanistan, Iran, Sudan, Myanmar, Ukraine. We have war in Gaza, everywhere, in many countries. But I ask them to have hope for a better future.
That's a very nice message.
Oh, I hope so.
It really is.
And so we are getting towards the end of the interview, but we always ask a question. What is now your favorite spot or place in Brno?
So my favorite spot first is Podnebi. I love it. It's just here. So
Yeah.
I love Podnebi. It's a very interesting spot for me. Sometimes I can see my professors. Still, I'm not studying in the Maastricht University, but it's great to see some of my professors there, or some of my former classmates there. And maybe can I say the second?
Yeah, of
my
course.
second favorite spot as well is the Spielberg Castle. I love this place, and sometimes I go there for walking with my dog, and you can see the city from the castle. So I love these two places.
Yeah. I love
That's
Spielberg
perfect.
too. Not right now when it's this hot, but I like it otherwise.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the weather is getting a bit
It's a lot. Yeah.
unbearable, but yeah. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming. You're doing amazing work. Very inspiring, everything you've done.
Thank you
And
so much
very
for the
impressive.
invitation. I think you're the best, and thank you so much for organizing this this interview. It's an honor for me to be here, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Also, I think we need to mention that on Sunday,
Mhm.
do you know the date?
28.
28th.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Oh, perfect.
I
Thank
follow
you.
your amazing work. Yes.
Sunday 28th, on the Moravské náměstí, we are having an event. It's event for the Pride Month. So we are doing performative weddings for LGBTIQ people. So if you have a partner and you want to get married finally in the Czech Republic, come to us and
Not
we
officially,
will...
though.
Not officially.
But
But we will marry you, and if you are single, don't worry as well. We will have
Cupids on deck.
Cupids who will
Matchmaking.
find you someone you can match with. So
Yeah.
come join our event, It's gonna be fun, and yeah, you can finally get married in Czech Republic.
I love this idea. Maybe can I give a short comment on
Of
this?
course,
I
please.
think when we face a lot of backlash in the Czech Republic because of the new government, there are a lot of attacks on our rights. I think it's very important to do this amazing job. And I was very happy when I heard about this event. So I will do my best to come. Unfortunately, my partner will be at work. So
you're
I
gonna
will
get
come
married.
with my dog and we will support all of you.
That's
Yes.
perfect. Then see you Sunday,
Yeah.
Yes.
and hopefully all of you.
Yes, every listener, see you Sunday.
I
Oh,
really
perfect.
enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you so much. It was perfect.